Good afternoon, and welcome to the Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms stream, where everything breaks right as you first hit stream, and now my name isn't even showing up in the feed. So that's great. Everything's great. Everything's working just exactly the way that I want it to. But a moment ago, everything was working, so at least there was that. Yeah, I see now my name's not even showing up. I don't know. Just use XSplit, everybody. It's wonderful. So what do we have on going on for today? Well, first, I'm going to thank our gracious hosts, the Dungeons & Dragons team and Wizards of the Coast, for hosting us on the D&D Twitch, because it is the coolest place to be at all. But seriously, just the best group of partners to work with. We love working with you guys, and we are happy to be here. All of our favorite shows are on here. And today, we're going to do things a little bit differently, because obviously I didn't stream live last week because I couldn't talk. I had no voice. But also there's a maintenance guy working on our AC above me, and everything in here is also not working correctly. So we're just gonna keep rolling the dice and see how many critical fails we get today, and just count them all up. But first, I have a guest joining me today, assuming that this doesn't break once again when I click the button. All the way from, I think, Portland right now. Are you back in Seattle, Scott? Yeah, we have Scott Kurtz.
Oh, I'm in Seattle. I'm back in Seattle.
You're in Seattle, yes. The Scott Kurtz, PvP Online, Table Titans, the Binwin, all those things, joining us as the guest today, in honor of his character being in our game. And what I should probably do is switch to a formation that actually shows Binwin right now, because I was doing something completely different last I checked. So let me just complete this. I'll do a Binwin run. Binwin only. Only Binwin. We'll see how far Binwin can get. Yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll see how that goes.
The star of your formation.
Yeah, literally the only character in it. Yeah, I'll only have to kill one enemy to unlock him. So, and I'll swap out Bruner because nobody likes Bruner anyways, right?
You can swap out Bruner with someone?
No. I mean, I'll just.
Oh.
Blunk. There. It's a Binwin formation.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, you just drag your character back down to the bar down below, and that's that. So, yeah, all Binwin all the time.
I'm going to have to give that a shot.
Oh, look at that. He just took out all the rats like they were nothing. See? Binwin kicks ass.
Too.
He is. Every time he attacks more than once, he takes longer to attack again.
He gets really tired.
Yeah. Well, the idea was actually, and Justin was talking about this when he first started designing him, because the first call we had with you, where you talked about how Binwin had action surge and you basically attack a lot. And we're like, attack a lot, huh? Basically Justin set up an extra attack cooldown thing for him where he always has a chance to attack again, and he just keeps going. And for every additional attack, it makes it take longer before his next set of attacks.
Yeah.
At which point, see, look at that. At which point, because he takes so long to attack again, one of the other like more broken characters we have, Binwin, has a buff every time she attacks. She buffs everybody around her, and it stacks up. And so Binwin and Binwin right side by side, he can easily get up to 3-4 stacks without you having to actively try to do anything. And it's actually kind of overpowered. I was trying it earlier today, and it was working crazy good. It's just like, I don't know, it's like almost insane.
Do you ever feel like people kind of, at first glance of the game, they kind of misinterpret its simplicity?
I think that because we have the D&D name attached to the game, the first assumption that everybody makes when they look at it is like, okay, I'm going to be able to make my character, and then I'm going to play a game, which is a fair assumption, I think, for a lot of D&D everything, because pretty much every game is an RPG of some kind where you create your character, and we're one of the ones where it's like you pick from established lore characters and other popular characters. Oh, excuse me, that people love, and so it's just a little different. So that's the. Other than that, people are kind of like, well, you just sit there. Like, what does your game do? It's so passive.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there is formation strategy. Like, I'm sure it's killing the people in chat right now that I'm not doing a real formation. I just have Binwin tanking rats and killing everything.
We've learned that from playing the game in our stream.
Yeah.
We're constantly updated on how we should
Move your characters around.
Yeah, change the formation, which I love because I'm still learning the game, so I get nice hints. But yeah, people lose their minds.
Yeah, hey, that's fair. I don't, it's, if you're playing wrong, you're playing wrong. I was on
Right.
when we were on Dragon Plus. John Files like, you need to move your Celeste.
Yeah.
And I looked at it, I was like, oh shit, I do.
Yeah.
So it comes from all directions.
I was really enjoying. Corey was reading to me some of the Reddit threads about the arguments between whether or not it's worth it to swap Binwin with Nylea.
Nayeli.
Nayeli, yeah.
Yeah, Bayeli, yeah, everybody's favorite tank.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, it was my formation right now because I've been playing since the start, and my Nayeli is crazy well geared. It's a hard justification, but
right.
At the same time, as the game grows and there's more and more characters and there are more swapping options, it'll give more and more opportunity for Binwin to shine. And he tears through bosses and things with armor, which is something that we haven't done a lot with yet. But we may do more with.
What do you recommend? And maybe it's just natural progression, but what should I be doing to gear up my characters? What's the progress progression on that?
Basically, you use you put all of your resources towards gold chests until everybody has at least rare gear.
Okay.
And you don't buy any silver ones. I mean, it's okay to open the ones you have, but rare chests are guaranteed to give you a rare item that you don't already have up until you have them all.
Okay.
And yeah, because we did some chest changes in February that kind of set it up a few different types of protection for players from how they get their chests, so that if you open an epic, you are guaranteed to open an epic that is an upgrade within every 10 chests. And the odds of getting one are a little bit better than that. I think it's 1 in 7 chests or something to open one, but one will definitely be an upgrade if you don't already have all of them every 10 chests. And then so you use gold chests to get all rare gear at least. And then it is still worth it to use gold chests until you have all epics. But you can start at that point making the case whether to use those gems for familiars or something else.
Right.
Yeah, I have a little bit too much dev privilege, so I have the familiars anyways. So.
Oh, you made me forget to remember to put my familiars out. I better do that.
Oh yeah. Binwin and tear through this with familiars. Doesn't even have to do that much work. There's a bunny, a little fairy, because that's totally appropriate for Binwin, and then just something doing click damage, and then I'll do another one that's leveling Binwin only. There we go.
Whoa,
my Binwin formation is
followers out and they're not
complete. I have my effects turned off because we have enough players who have sensitivity to strobing and stuff that if any of them are watching the stream, I don't want them to have a seizure. So I turn it off on my game. So my game is a little bit effects light at the moment. And I just realized why the audio is all janky, and I can't do anything about it this stream, but I will try to fix it next time, people. I swear to God. I see that people are asking us questions already. Let's see. Necrocron 2001. Hello, Scott. Hello, Dylan. Long time no see. How are you? So I guess, how are you?
I'm great.
Yeah. I am well, unlike last week. Let's see. Gabriel Bissy. Oh, it's sweet. Sweat. Sweat? I thought he was crying when his minions died. Oh, yeah. No, Binwin sweats. He sweats profusely. Binwin doesn't cry. No tears come from those eyes. Come on.
Binwin cries, absolutely.
Oh yeah? He's strong enough to be sensitive?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I cry at the drop of a hat. So.
And then Silisa wants to know what my 4th slot item level is for Binwin. That's the extra attack one. Level 121, so extra attacks by 162.8%, which is pretty good. But I imagine this is the gift that keeps on giving. The higher that you can get this slot up, the better Binwin is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was a Q&A yesterday, and I had to get clarification from Justin about it, but he said that the math for it is that every time Binwin attacks, you take that extra attack percentage and you have it. So if it's 162% chance to have an extra attack after the first one, well, you're always going to have a second attack. But then the next one after that is 81.4%, and then, 40.5% or whatever, and then just kind of like keeps going down. So, but if you can get that number up to 1,000%, and then 500%, 250%, 125%, you know, etc. If you can get those attacks up to a long string of attacks, then he could become godly with the way that the game is currently built. So,
hey, your familiars are doing the same thing mine is, which is not clicking.
Oh, do you have your effects turned off as well?
Oh, I didn't know that I did.
Yeah, because if you go in here and you do disable flashing lighting effects, and you toggle it back on, they just kind of go crazy. Yeah. I just find the effects distracting, so I turn them off.
They are going crazy.
And then, of course, scientific notation, because who doesn't use Synot, right? Like, it's the bestest.
I use
it. Counts the number of zeros. So many zeros. Yeah, all those things. So, let's see what else we got for questions. Backdoor Shady Dealer wants to know if they can apply to be a Binwin minion.
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, you can apply to be a Binwin minion. Absolutely. Just email the Binwin minion. We actually we should make cards. People could apply to be a Binwin's minion and get a special card.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool.
Some kind of debuff card?
Yeah, some kind of a debuff card for sure.
I think that was my favorite detail I've seen so far in the event.
Oh, I know.
The Binwin's Minions variant where Binwin's Minions are there and they're so useless that they make you less good unless you're Binwin. Like debuffing players. I was like, oh, that's hilarious. Yeah. I guess because, we've had this conversation obviously with Bart and John the other day, but amongst each other a few times now talking about adapting Binwin, but it's not something that our audience really knows much about. So maybe you could give them a little insight into what it's like to create a beloved streamer character and then have somebody eventually approach you and be like, hey, I want to put that character in my game, and then work with our art team. So, story time.
I don't know how well I can speak to creating a beloved D&D character. I really just I think people that love Binwin, what they really love was the camaraderie we showed at the table during the Ack Inc. games and podcasts. I think it was that the stuff that makes D&D great, which is the fun times you have, the accidents that lead to really super fun D&D sessions. So I don't think there's anything particularly about Binwin that works kind of out of the context of him interacting with Omen and Jim and Viari and AFL and all those cool guys. Mm-hmm. But he did end up developing some really cool character traits. The first being that I'm a very impatient player, so I made my character a very impatient character, and worked that into not just my play style, but also into how I built him, where he benefited from raging and benefited from rushing in. Yeah. And then, of course, over the course of 10 years of playing a D&D character, there's little in-jokes and things that develop.
Yeah.
And that was what was the most fun part of working with you guys at Codename, was that you found a way to take that backstory, those in-jokes, and that, trade dress around Binwin and incorporate it into his skills and abilities and gear. That's just super, super, super fun. That was my favorite part of the whole thing.
It's interesting because as somebody who's a fan of Table Titans, but like I'm not on the art team. Like I'm there for some of the creative discussions, but usually it's one of those things where when something is done, they're like, okay, now talk to people about it. Okay, so I get to see the reveal after you. Once you said that the equipment looks good, I get to see it, and I was so happy to see Princess Duckersheim.
Yeah.
As one of the items, because like the whole time I'm like, yeah, we could get Binwin, but like, wouldn't the duck be a better character for our team? Like,
yeah,
a hyper competent duck with a wand.
That's such a fun character too. Tavis and Corey have done a really good job keeping Binwin alive in in a comic called Binwin's Minions, and one of the minions that you can get in one of the new event missions, Binwin's Wizard, that doesn't have a name because he never learned it. He was pulling ducks out of his hat, and one of them ended up being the most competent member of the crew. And to have her in the game as a piece of equipment is... I actually took a snapshot of that and sent it to Tavis, and I was like, look, Duckersheim's in the game. I think we were more excited about Duckersheim making it in than Binwin.
Yeah, it's the Duckersheim and the Markovian are my favorite characters of yours after Binwin.
Man,
I love the
Markovian.
Markovian.
Is the Markovian?
The most perfect introduction ever.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know, something about somebody. They're like, when they decided that they were so badass that the only worthy enemies were each other, and they just killed each other to the last person standing. I'm like, this is the best thing I've ever read. Like,
yeah.
And so, yeah, every time we're like, who are we gonna add to the game next? I'm like, the Markovian, and they're like, well, but we just added Binwin. I'm like, but the Markovian, So someday, cross my fingers.
Yeah.
I don't know when, but nothing
that
but
would
love.
Be a ton of fun.
Yeah. And it's an excuse to write things in all capital letters and have a character that's hyper aggressive. So,
yeah.
We have a couple other questions here that I think are also related to your time with AC Inc. Let's see. Our Green Paradox. Do you have any idea what Patrick Rothfuss is blackmailing Chris Perkins with so that Viari gets away with everything?
I don't know. I don't know if he's got photos or what's going on. But I would suspect it really comes down to a combination of that. Much like everyone else, Chris just really likes Patrick. And much like everyone else, Chris just really likes sticking it to us. And keep in mind, life has been pretty good for myself, Mike, and Jerry, especially when it comes to AC Inc. So for Viari to show up and Viari to show up and just get the DM's favor was too good of a running gag to not.
I remember seeing watching one of the streams, from one of the live shows, and Patrick Rothfuss suggested something insane. It was like using one of those like staff of that you can like hold in place. It's like a staff. He's like, can I jump up and use the word to like have it stay in place and then use it to vault up further? And Chris just kind of looks at me. He's like, sure, why not?
Sure, why not?
And I'm like, what?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah. And I was like, huh. But then like, I haven't spent a huge amount of time as a DM because I did it a little while, like 15 years ago. And then I've like kind of taken it up again a bit recently to give Adam here a break. And I'm starting to remember how challenging some players can be, especially when they're really creative. You're like, oh crap. Because they'll think their way out of something like immediately. And that does kind of fit within the rules of the game. You're kind of supposed to be able to do whatever you want. So sure. So roll, and if you mess it up, I will punish you endlessly for it. Like, it's just kind of how it goes.
Can I answer some of the questions in the stream? Do you care? In the chat?
Yeah, go for it. They're coming in faster than I'm paying attention. So
why not steal from your dad and name the wizard Drazu? I actually did. If you read Table Titans, Darby, who plays a wizard in the game, his character is named Drazu. One of the more popular characters in my run of Table Titans is Drazu the Wizard, and I did take that from my dad. That was my dad's character.
Somebody wants to know if you still stream playing Binwin.
I haven't been, although I've been invited to Dice Camera Action.
Ooh.
And I've been invited to be on the Broadswords. And so one of the things that I learned at the Stream of Many Eyes is that a lot of the D&D streams that I admire are very amenable to having Binwin on their stream as a guest. So I'm going to start taking people up on it because I would love to continue to play Binwin. Absolutely.
Have you watched any Dice Camera Action?
I am embarrassed to say no. I've just started listening to them as podcasts. I'm behind on listening to a lot of D&D streams. So there is enough that it can be challenging to keep up with it. There's so many now.
You were telling me about the one that those brothers make with their dad. What's it called?
Adventure Zone.
Yeah, and I was following up on it and looking at, and it's hilarious and it's awesome. But I'm like,
Yeah, it's
how do I even
very,
try to
very
catch up
good.
on this when I already watch, and listen to? So
That's the
it's
problem.
tough. Yeah.
I'm lucky in that my job involves sitting and drawing a lot, and so I like having stuff on in the background, and I
Hmm.
don't always like music, so I'll watch a lot of TV. Well, I'll watch in quotes a lot of TV, but I listen to a lot of podcasts. So
Yeah, I don't listen to a lot of podcasts, so that's probably why I hadn't heard of so many of them. Yeah, Kat, one of our artists, is like, "You didn't know about Taz? For shame." And I'm like, "Yeah,
yeah,
I didn't. I was introduced to the McElroys. Well, I didn't meet them at the Stream of Many Eyes, but like I didn't know who they were until I was there, and then
yeah, that's fine.
have
Yeah,
since
you know
caught some of the
now.
streams with
You
them.
should
And
definitely listen to the Adventure Zone.
yeah, yeah, I keep hearing that. So at some point I'll get around to it.
I have a hard time with D&D streams, and it's a personal problem of my own. But I like listening to people play D&D, and a lot of the D&D streams are more of a performance,
Mm-hmm.
especially like Critical Role is so well done, but I'm just not into the performance aspect of it. It feels like people pretending to be people who play D&D. I don't know, and that's a limitation on my part. I'm not
Yeah, well, I mean,
trying to
they're
hold
literally
back.
actors, right?
They're all actors, right? They're all
Yeah, they all do
that's the
amazing voices.
yeah, that's the way they approach it.
Yeah,
So
hmm
um
I understand that.
I think that's why I really enjoyed Taz, was because it was obviously people kind of new to the game playing D&D. Uh anyway.
No, that's fair. I mean, there's enough D&D content out there that everybody can find something that they prefer over something else.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah, I mean, a lot of Critical Role fans, and
Yeah,
not
and
that
I
they
will
haven't
say
earned it.
now.
They totally have earned it because they really set the stage in a way, I guess, for making D&D even more mainstream. But yeah, I mean, I find I watch dice camera action with more consistency than Critical Role. Um, but
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it's just because it's a soap opera. Like, it is an emotionally intense show.
Which
Chris
one? Dice
Perkins.
Camera Action?
Yeah, Chris Perkins knows how to twist the knife on those characters. I mean, I'm sure he knows how to twist the knife for any player, but he seems
Yeah.
especially good at it with them. Like, oh,
Yeah.
he's spent a lot of time with them, and he's very good at it. So, yeah. And then, of course, our first big release streamer character was Holly Conrad Strix. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you got Evelyn in there too, right?
Yep, yeah. Can't
Or is
have
she
Strix without
Evelyn?
Evelyn.
Yeah.
Evelyn. Evelyn was the evil one. Yeah, I get confused by it too. uh, what else is going on? We're doing some more fun hiding codes and stuff in the strips coming up.
Yeah, Corey and our artists are hard at work hiding codes in the Friday episodes of Binwin's Minions.
I don't know how many do players solve them quickly. Like I noticed that there was a lot of Twitter traffic for a while about them.
Reddit
Um,
immediately tries to solve it, and they've gotten a lot better at hiding it. I don't know what the time was on the most recent one. I thought maybe
Probably
Corey
like
would
20
check in the
minutes or
chat.
something. So
Probably.
yeah, those it's that internet hive mind, man. You can't outthink them.
No, you cannot. You
Yeah.
cannot.
It's just kind of yeah. Every time you think you can, it's just well, maybe this will be too hard, and then it's like done. It's like oh right, because somebody with an IQ 50 points higher than me looked at it and figured it out instantly, and then
That's why
shared it.
Ready Player One would never work. Someone would figure it all out immediately. Boom.
Oh yeah, the movie or the book.
I don't know. I've yet to consume either. I just kind of know the general plot.
Yeah, it was. Well, I mean, it's pop culture, right? Like the first book is
Yeah.
entertaining. If you were young enough in the '80s to enjoy those films and cartoons and such, then it's an amazing book. And if you didn't, it's less so.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah, it was fun. It's like I would describe it as a really fun, shallow read. It's not deep. You're not gonna have any kind of existential thoughts reading it. You're just gonna be like entertained for long enough to get through it, kind of thing.
I've avoided reading it because there's a lot of people online that their content amounts to, hey, remember this pop culture thing? Remember this pop culture thing? Remember this pop culture thing?
Mm-hmm.
And there's no commentary on it, and there's no content there. It's just like, yes, I do remember it. And it feels like that book is a big embodiment of that. So I've avoided it. But now I'm just avoiding it because it's one of my oldest friend's favorite books. And he just gets mad every time he sees me, and I've not read it yet.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, in that case, you can't read it.
Yeah, no, I can't. Because it's a part of tormenting him.
Yeah, no, I understand. It's the same reason I give some of my friends copies of Wing Commander every once in a while. The film. Because
I like that movie.
I don't know that there's any film that the group of us hate more, which is why every once in a while it shows up under somebody's Christmas tree.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Which reminds me, I need to make a note about ordering more copies to do that this year.
Wing Commander. I have one. My brother and I have been...
A movie I hate so much that I've probably spent like hundreds of dollars buying it to give it to friends over and over again. Yeah, that's a good one. Sweet. Cool. Let's see what. Oh, somebody's asking if they can see the Pride shirt I mentioned. Okay, yeah. It's gonna cut off my head, so I'll be headless. But
oh
yeah, this is green, obviously, but it's getting green screened out.
Awesome.
But yeah, this is for the Wizards of the Coast charity thing for Lambert House in support, and yeah, everybody in our office opted to get shirts. So I actually have two of them. Cool. I have this one and a tank that I've been wearing all week, and yeah, it's rad. It's the colors, like, it doesn't show up great on screen because our cameras are pretty mediocre, but the colors are extremely vibrant, and it looks amazing. Like, it really does.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know how sometimes when you see screen printing, you're like, oh, it's a little off, like, you know, start layering it on, but no, it's perfect. It looks amazing. Yeah. One of my new favorite shirts. Okay, cool. So let's talk about Binwin's Minions and art, because you are like the original internet cartoonist in a way. Like, how many people were doing cartoons on the internet when you started? Can't be that many.
One of the original internet cartoonists. It's really interesting because a lot of us kind of started around the same time, I would assume, independently of each other. When I started doing... so in 1996, 97, I started first putting my comic strips online because my goal was to become a syndicated cartoonist and get my comics in the newspapers. Mm-hmm. And in order to do that, you have to submit a comic strip concept and usually do about 2 or 3 weeks worth of strips and send them into a syndicate. And then the editor will look at them and decide, you know, whether or not you're good enough and if they want to work with you. Mm-hmm. So creating a syndicate package was what you did. And so the first comics I put online, I discovered that cartoonists had their own websites, but they were cartoonists that sold comics to magazines, right? Like the New Yorker or Playboy or, you know, any magazine that ran a little one-panel comic. Mm-hmm. But, you know, they had websites to kind of promote and sell their work. And I thought, well, there are people in the industry reading websites like this. I should make a website and put my syndicate package on it. And then I could maybe get a leg up on people who are submitting the old-fashioned way. So that was when I first put comics online. The inadvertent result of that was that I ended up getting readers directly by having content online, and realized pretty soon, well, maybe I don't have to be accepted by a syndicate. Maybe this will just work as is. So that's kind of how it started. A lot of people like to paint some picture that I had a grand plan or that I figured something out, and I absolutely did not. It was accidental.
I got a question for you.
Yeah, hit me.
Which upgrade should I use for Binwin right now?
You know, I just chose that on my game. I chose Reckless Attacks.
Yeah? All right.
I did. It's probably the wrong decision, but...
I'm sure chat will let us know in a second, but it's too late now. I already did it, so... It's too late. I've already seen everything.
Rich Burlew was a pioneer. I think Burlew came much, much later, though. Woody was there in the beginning from Goo Comics. That's true.
It's crazy. I'm trying to think of what I was doing in '98. I think I was just rewatching The Matrix. Basically,
We all were.
That sounds about right. 1998.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Playing Half-Life. I think that was the game that came out then, right? God, I don't know. It's just making me feel old now that I realize that 98 isn't 10 years ago. It's actually 20 years ago.
It's 20 years ago.
Shit.
Yeah.
I got a question for you, actually.
All
Reading
right.
Table Titans, the campaign setting in it.
Mm-hmm.
Are we ever going to see a book with that campaign setting in it?
Yeah, we're
'Cause
working
that
on
would
it
be-
now. We have started writing the campaign setting. We're also working on modules, adventure modules set in the campaign setting, and we've written 4 or 5 of those already. So one of the things that we've done, so to let everyone know that is listening, Table Titans is a comic that I draw about a bunch of friends that play Dungeons and Dragons, and we've worked close with Wizards of the Coast, especially in the early days of the strips, to have the characters playing campaign stuff that coincided with whatever Wizards had going at the time. So, Murder at Baldur's Gate, or they've been in the Forgotten Realms before. But what's currently happening is they're in the comic, they're playing a homebrew campaign setting called the Fallen Vale, and so we're going to actually make a Fallen Vale campaign source book, and we've written a couple adventures. The first 2 adventures were created for our Kickstarters as rewards for people backing getting Table Titans collected into book form. And so those are done, and I'm currently producing artwork for the second one. So those 2 adventures are done, but then we've already written like another 4, and we have some new races, some new classes. And so, what my goal is to release a book that's a nice hybrid between a comic and a campaign setting, with really amazing and fun comic art. And a lot of the D&D campaign setting stuff that you can buy right now, I think a lot of people try to go very high fantasy, and they go up their own butt with being as much as they can be like Tolkien. Yeah. And I get that. Like, I am super into that. Are we allowed to curse on the stream? Because I will.
There is an adult warning, so yeah, you can say whatever you want.
Yeah, because I am super fucking into that shit too. I love high fantasy, and I love getting very Tolkien. But I also think that the most memorable things in D&D are more Knights of the Dinner Table and less the Two Towers. So we're doing our campaign setting is very fun and very not tongue-in-cheek, but there's a lot of seriousness to it, but there's a lot of humor in it. Like the Marvel movies,
Yeah, people love those, I hear.
I hear that they're very popular right now.
Yeah, they go to see lots of them. No, and just like as somebody who has read it and keeps up to date, it's a very refreshing. The runecaster type class character instead of having a wizard, like I'm a huge fan of. It's
one of the things that I do and don't like about certain fantasy stories is magic tends to be this kind of Deus Ex Machina, get out of jail free type thing. And there's a scale of escalation problem on that. I like magic systems that are a little more limited. In the Fallen Vale campaign setting, the way that we set up magic is that the land croissant. So this is going to sound nerdy. Now you get to hear about my campaign setting. Isn't everyone excited?
I don't think you need to worry about that because we're on the Dungeons and Dragons Twitch channel.
Twitch channel.
Nerd is not a bad word.
So Kursan is the name of our land, right? And in Kherson was no magic, all mortal races. So there were humans, dwarves, and there were, for lack of a better term, kind of Nordic type people. No magic involved. And then from another plane of existence, a group of beings that have been named the Timeless. They are explorers, and they kind of explore the planes, and they wanted to check out Earth or Kherson. They want to check this place out, and they passed through the veil from their world into ours, and kind of explored it and interacted with it. And the energy that they brought with them, their technology, it kind of got left behind after they left. When the energy from their plane of existence seeped through the veil into our world, that's kind of magical energy. It just kind of hangs around. There are different kind of ley lines of that energy still traveling through, where there are points of interest on the map where the veil between the two worlds are thinner, and so magic is stronger there. Now, the Timeless, when they visited, they kind of played around, they kind of experimented, and they mated with the mortal races. So the Timeless that mated with humans produced elves. The Timeless that mated with the dwarves produced the Boden, which are kind of gnomes and halflings. And then the Timeless that mated with the Nordic people made yetis. And then when those Fey races mated with each other, they made the Fell races, which are daemons and goblins and stuff like that. Fell and Fey races can use magic naturally. They can tap into the energy from the other side of the veil, and they can manipulate it. If humans try to do that, if the mortal races try to do that, it's very, very, very bad for them. Their bodies cannot handle it. They don't have any of the Timeless in them, and so it corrupts them. And that's why humans and the mortal races, humans, dwarves, and Nords, they tend to imbue objects with magic, and that's where rune magic came in.
Okay.
So that's the nerdy backstory that you're never going to make into a movie, because then you'd be making the Star Wars prequels. You'd be illustrating a Wikipedia page, but that's the Wikipedia page for the backstory of the Forgotten Realm. So it makes for some fun character interactions, because if you talk to a human mage, they're very obsessed with the concept of magic and runes and imbuing objects with magic. And if you were to talk to an elf, they'd say letting a human fuck with magic is like giving a siege weapon to a goat. Like, they don't. You shouldn't be screwing with magic. So like the Fey races look at the mortal races with their runes as kind of like, oh yeah, nice, how quaint, your little rune magic. But yeah, we thought it would be a really cool way to set up some interactions and tensions between the races of our campaign setting. Isn't that nerdy?
No, that's amazing. I mean, I'm sure that the percentage of people in this chat who have written their own homebrew content in the past is probably pretty high. You know, like I used to, because when I first played D&D, it wasn't something that grabbed me. Like I kind of enjoyed it, but like I enjoyed more how much my friends enjoyed it, and like I would come up with ideas for my DM friends.
Yeah.
That in retrospect were really horrific ideas for their parties to deal with, but hey, not my problem. You know, it's every aspect of contributing to it is a lot of fun. I'm stoked.
That's where you know, that's where storytelling comes into this stuff, and it's just so much fun. Just making that, all that homebrew stuff is where I get really excited about D&D.
Yeah.
And I love playing a good module. I love sitting down with, you know, Ravenloft and going ham, but
crashing through doors, tanking
that
traps.
Homebrew stuff is where all the memories lie.
Yeah. It's interesting that you mentioned it that way, because it's sharing these stories with your friends. You form such crazy strong memories around what happens, like that you can remember them as clearly as you remember things that actually happened with your friends. if not more so sometimes.
That
So
is the motivation behind our main character, Val Bronzebottom, is that she prefers playing D&D over doing non D&D stuff because if you think about it, an experience that you are in the present that's presently happening is very vivid because it's happening to you right then. And then as time passes, your memory of that is a imperfect kind of representation of that experience. And as time passes, that memory of that experience gets changed drastically. Things get forgotten where other things get embellished. And so once enough time has passed from an experience, that memory is really basically an impression of an experience, but it's mostly fiction. And Val's philosophy is if the memory of a real experience that's where enough time has passed is identical to the memory of an imagined experience, then her time spent in D&D is just as real as her time spent in the real world, and she enjoys D&D more. So that's why Val, the character of Val in Table Titans, always kind of plays a version of herself. She doesn't really experiment with other character types, and why she's always kind of herself in the real world. The difference between her and her character is almost indistinguishable. She's always kind of her character.
Which is why when she's playing a bard, and the one thing she's like, "Cool, I hit him."
Yeah,
like,
exactly. When she was forced to play a bard, she used her lute as a bludgeoning weapon. She doesn't really know any other way.
Now, are those character traits something you came up with before? Like, do you create all the characters before you start, or do you just kind of like let them unravel as you do it? Or?
Most of the other characters that we created for Table Titans were based on kind of player types that a lot of people would have experienced at a table, good and bad, you know. You know, the min-maxer, the rules lawyer.
They're like D&D archetypes as opposed to character archetypes.
D&D archetypes, exactly.
The spike, the tinny, to quote, use some magic terms.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. So how did you get, like, at this point, I guess the part that I'm trying to understand is you started cartooning in the late 90s, which was super recent. We're not old. How do you get to the point where you're like streaming a D&D character and like all this stuff? Like, at what point did you consciously make a decision to infuse your life with this much D&D moving forward creatively, or did you just fall backwards into it? Like, how did you go from Scott the cartoonist to Scott to Binwin Bronzebottom to Table Titans, like all that stuff? Like, how did that come together?
So I've always felt that success is kind of where preparedness meets opportunity. I have always been drawing comics. I've always been trying to be a better cartoonist. I've wanted to be a cartoonist since the 4th grade, so I've been working on it for a long time. And I've had day jobs, and I've gone to school, and I've had other goals. But the main goal, whether my parents were 100% happy with it or my, fiance and wife at the time were 100% happy with it, my main goal was always being a full-time cartoonist. There really was no other plan. There was no plan B. I don't know how well that is as advice. It's more of a history than it is advice, just for anyone listening. But it's just kind of what happened with me. And so, again, if you're producing and improving and staying current in your craft, when opportunity arrives, you're in a good position to take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just kind of been the story of my career. From the beginnings of PvP to moving to UGO as a network to striking out on my own to meeting the guys at Penny Arcade and working with them, and then being available and being perceived as a value add when Wizards of the Coast approached Penny Arcade about advertising 4E. And that's when the Acquisition Incorporated podcast started. Is they were promoting 4th edition. They wanted a way to promote it. Penny Arcade said, let's just do a podcast and play the game. And I was invited because they were fans of my work and felt I would be funny on the podcast. So again, it was preparedness meeting opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what no one could predict was what a hit it would be and how much people would want to hear more of it, and that WotC would be in a position to, continue to indulge.
Mm-hmm.
And do so in a way that was very hands-off, creatively, very supportive, and fronting a huge budget to make the shows that we did live and podcasts with higher and higher production value and higher spectacle.
Mm-hmm.
Perkins does not half-ass anything. So Chris Perkins fucking attacked that project. I mean, he does it differently than I do. He is a reserved man, but there's a lot of gravitas, and he's so talented and quick and funny, with voices, with humor, with just great ideas for DMing. And we never know what is going to happen on stage when we would play. We'd maybe have an idea of the title or the theme of what was going to happen, but beyond that, no. So, that's just kind of how it happened. So, yeah.
Cool.
There you go.
If you're wondering why my expression keeps changing, it's because there's people coming into the room and going up ladders and handing each other stuff. So it's just like,
Sorry about
things
your
being
office.
things being assembled in the background. It's all good. One of the times that somebody was working on the new AC system in here while I was streaming, they left the roof hatch open and it started pouring rain. And so I was streaming and I could see water running down the light fixtures and dripping onto the floor. And I'm
Not
like,
dangerous at all.
This is fine. Everything's fine. So,
yeah, everything's fine.
Yeah, it could always be worse. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, so that's happening.
Good luck to you, sir.
Yeah, I see a question that I missed. Somebody asking if you did an online comic before Samwise.
I did. Samwise was an online comic I did to promote. Well, no, it wasn't to promote anything. It was just kind of celebrating. We were playing a lot of Ultima Online at the time, and it was about that. And it was making fun of the developers of UO2 when they would do something we didn't like. It was commentary on that game. Before that, I had a couple comics that were submissions for syndication that I had online, but no one ever saw it. There was a comic kind of about I was a newlywed. I was married in '96, so I was maybe a year married, and I had a comic about a newlywed couple called My Hero that eventually was renamed Wedlock, and I'd had that online, but I don't think anyone's ever seen it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Is it still online? Has the internet immortalized it forever? You can't use the Wayback Machine to find it or something?
I doubt it. No, it was a GeoCities site or a it was on AOL or something. It was like an AOL website. The comic strips themselves are I have copies of them. They were actually printed in the Awesomology 10-year anniversary PvP book about 10 years ago.
Oh, okay.
But I have not posted them since. I could. Someone's asked about Tales from the Tavern. You mean Tales by Tavern Light? That was essentially what I renamed the Samwise comic.
Oh, okay. Cool. Let's see. The Painting Frog. Met Scott at last year's Gen Con. He had one look at the art on Table Titans and picked both volumes immediately. Oh, sorry, had one look at the art on Table Titans and picked up both volumes immediately. His art is that powerful. When are we getting new printed Table Titans books?
Very nice. Well, we're working on books. Oh, Corey's in there typing. We are working on books 3 and 4 right now, and be starting them very, very soon.
Awesome.
Yep, and I'm at work right now on book 5, which will debut probably after the summer online.
Cool.
So once Brian Hurt's current story with the Markovian in the jail break ends, I will be back to drawing Table Titans.
Cool. So on that note, you've grown a little. You've got a comic empire now. You've got multiple comics.
Do I?
Yeah.
Yes, I do. A little bit, right?
Yeah. So what's it like being a cartoonist who has other cartoonists?
Oh, that's fucking harrowing. I hate it. It does not make me feel good at all. Before it's just me. Before it was just me that if this didn't work out, it's fine. I'm not hurting anybody. Then I got married, and it's like, well, now if this doesn't work out, I'm hurting my wife. And if we ever have kids, then I'm hurting my family. But she loves me, and she's encouraging me, and she's in on it. So it's like a Starfleet officer. Like, she knew the risk when she signed up for Starfleet. But then Corey came on board, and Corey came on board as my business partner. And it was like, well, again, he knows what he's in for, and he's very smart, knows what he's doing, has a history of marketing it for Oni Press. So he's gonna make this amazing, and he did. He made it this. Corey made it just this me making comics into a company making a lot of different things with a lot of different people, which I did not know how to do on my own. But every once in a while, it's like, oh no, there's a lot of people whose current status kind of hinges on people still liking these dumb things that I draw, and I do not have the confidence in these dumb things that that's going to continue and be okay. And I start to panic a little bit, but doctor gave me a pill for that, so it's really not that big of a deal.
You're like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I got this.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Cool.
Corey bounces back and forth between don't worry about it to worry a little bit about it. You should worry just enough.
Yeah, worry a little more than you're not worrying right now.
Yeah, you should worry a little bit more than you are right now. No, that's too much. Back a little bit less.
Fair enough. There's a lot of support in the chat right now.
Yes, they love the dumb things that I draw. I appreciate it. Please keep doing that. Well, listen, Corwin said that Corwin must be a relative of Binwin. That must be my cousin. What's up, Corwin? I'm glad that you still are interested, because I was almost afraid to celebrate 20 years of PvP because it admits I've been around for 20 years and maybe that's not so cool anymore, And you got to keep in mind that the desirable demographic is young people, and I am not a young people anymore. I'm, as I like to say during podcasts, because I know Corey has to mark the time and edit it out, I am pushing 50.
Really?
Yeah, I'm 47.
Oh, I wouldn't have guessed.
Yeah, I got a baby face, so
Nothing
I hide it well.
Yeah, nothing wrong with a baby face.
No, but look at Corey. Gus, stop it. The other reason that you couldn't tell is because my interests are don't run the same as probably a normal 47-year-old.
Well, it's because the things that were not considered cool have made it into the mainstream and are now considered cool. I mean, there was this trilogy of films in the early aughts, The Lord of the Rings. I don't know, Peter Jackson or somebody did it. And like, for some reason, people loved it and went to see it, and it made crazy amounts of money and won lots of Oscars, and all of a sudden, being a nerd is totally acceptable and not something you get beat up for anymore. I mean, you do, but less so, I guess, maybe. So it's funny how popular culture shifts can do that. or maybe it's just that all the people who liked all those things decades ago are now in more
Now in
influential
our 40s and
positions.
50s, and we can
Yeah,
actually make it
yeah,
happen.
yeah.
Yep.
So it's a little easier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Huh. So what can you tell us about what's coming up with Table Titans?
That's a great question. What is coming up with Table Titans? I don't know. Corey, help me out in the chat. What's coming up with Table Titans right now that I can talk about?
Yeah, don't want to spoil anything too dire, but I mean, unless you want to, I mean,
No,
spoil all you want. I can't
I
stop
don't
you.
mind it. I know. I'm trying to figure it out what won't spoil the story.
Oh, don't spoil the story. No.
Yeah, we may not be able to. Yeah, Corey, I hope
I hope
people
people
like dragons.
Yeah, they do, and they also like dungeons. So really,
That's coming up.
we're all in the
edging
same
out
shared kind
slowly.
of space here, where we all like the same two
That's
things
right.
together.
We do have a bad guy coming back. That is correct.
Oh, that's exciting. Okay, now I'm curious. Well, I mean, super evil isn't a necessary thing for a bad guy, but it helps. Helps you know.
Yeah,
Helps you know which one's bad. Huh. Cool. So I gotta know, what was it like when you booted up Idle Champions and got to go unlock Binwin?
I'm not gonna lie, I got a little emotional about it. I think you guys heard me get very, very excited about it. I think I was more excited about seeing some of Tavis's work in it because, I don't know. It was really exciting because it was a hard decision for me to leave Ack Inc. It was the right decision, but it was a difficult one. And the thing that made me the saddest about it is I really like Binwin, and it was like, well, people are going to start forgetting about Binwin now because I'm not going to be on stage playing a lot, and I mean that's understandable, you know. But seeing that you guys were so excited to have Binwin in the game, and so many people were excited that he was going to be in the game. Really made me feel awesome about it.
Yeah.
Plus, in anticipation for it, I super got into the game itself. So by the time Binwin came out, I was stoked because I understood the game a lot better than I previously had. So
yeah, well, I mean, it was one of those things where we had our morning meeting and we were talking about everything that we're going to do because the Idle Champions team gets together every morning to be like, all right, what's everybody working on today, kind of thing. What's coming up next? You know, well, we got to do another champion, blah blah, all this stuff. And Adam's like, you know, I mean, he's the art director, so he's busy anyways because he's managing the art team and on top of doing at least some of everything. He's like, oh, I'm so busy, I'm so swamped, like I got no room for anything, all this stuff. And then like in the afternoon, like somebody like kind of like absentmindedly says loud, "It's like, oh, well, we could do Binwin." Adam's like, I'm doing Binwin, like just kind of like up, headphones off, like I'm calling it, I'm doing it, I'm starting them right now, like.
Yeah,
it's like a second ago. It's like, were you too busy to do anything?
Yeah, Eric's telling me he's like, I'm so busy, I can't do anything. We're doing Binwin. I have plenty of time. I can do it.
Yeah. I have all the time I need to do Binwin. And then he's just like on it. He was doing it.
Yep.
And it was kind of one of those things where, like, I mean, you know, we read Table Titans and Binwin's Minions, so it's like it's not
crazy.
You know, we're kind of into it collectively, but it was just like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, Adam's on it. All right, so that's happening. It's kind of one of those things. So, you know, it was kind of like he definitely set the bar for excitement unreasonably high, I think. I'm a little more low key myself,
what
but
an amazing job he did.
Yeah, I have a video here that I'm going to show in a bit. That
I'm excited to watch.
Is Adam drawing it from start to finish?
So normally, when you work with a licensor, okay, and there are just all these kinds of hurdles to jump, and rightfully so. There's many companies involved. There's contracts involved. So the time between being approached by someone like Codename and finally seeing your character in the game can be, honestly, normally it's a year. Like anytime we have a new project that we're excited about, we don't see it finished for a year.
Yep.
And it was like one conversation on the phone, talking to everyone about talking to Adam on the phone. Next day sketches. Next day art was finished. Like,
Yep.
I've never seen a turnaround.
Yeah.
The way you guys did this.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a champion creating engine that runs now, and it's kind of
yes, you
yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
Because like it was, when we were wrapping up talking with Anna about Evelyn, because the previous event, the Great Modron March, was the event that you could unlock Evelyn in. And so like that happened leading into the Stream of Many Eyes weekend. And like by the time that event was running, we were already talking to you about designing Binwin.
Yep.
Like it's kind of like, it's like leapfrogging content a little bit, but it's we're starting on the next thing at any given point. Like, I know that they are drawing the next champion right now because I've seen the first sketch, like the really, really, really loose one. And yeah, it's crazy. But we have a talented art team who can turn stuff around pretty darn quick, so it helps. Yeah. Which reminds me, where is Adam? He's probably drawing. He's supposed to be over here.
Yeah, where is Adam?
Yeah, I just sent a message. Erica will wrangle him.
I have questions for Adam about working on Binwin and stuff.
Yeah. He'll be in here any moment. Oh, he's definitely swamped. Oh yeah, no, he's looking at the window. Yeah, here he is. Come on in, join us. And then hopefully this doesn't crash when I click this button. Adjust the camera. You gotta put headphones on.
Yeah.
And you gotta pull the microphone over.
Adam.
So, hey, can I swear?
Working on Binwin.
Yeah, I mean, keep it reasonable.
Holy shit, it's Scott Kurtz.
Yeah.
Holy shit, it's Adam Kosh. What's up, bro?
So, I can't believe it. I was so happy to do Binwin.
So, Adam, tell us, how honored were you to be able to work on a character as cool as Binwin Bronzebottom?
I don't think I've ever been more honored in my life.
Your wife doesn't listen to this, does she?
Nope. She doesn't even know what Twitch is, so I'm safe. I can say whatever I want.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's a little worried there.
Yeah. It's like, and he was never seen again.
All right, so do me a favor. Talk to me about your approach artistically. What challenges do you face when you come across... Now, up until this point, you've never worked on another... Well, that may not be true, but up until this point, have you ever worked on another champion with artwork previously of them? Because, like, doing Strix, there may not be artwork of her. She's been in costume, Holly. Mm-hmm. Same for Evelyn.
Well, most of them actually do have some sort of artwork. Like, even Strix and Evelyn and that, I can't remember the artist's name at Wizards, but he did sketches and stuff for them and like promo material and stuff. We usually have some sort of material to work from. There's quite a bit of Binwin, so it was pretty easy to find.
Yeah, there's a lot of
tons and tons of stuff to
He's been on a few panels.
Yeah, so he was pretty easy. When I first started him, I was actually kind of off track on how he finished, but I kind of turned it around. I believe I sent you guys a sketch, and you're like, no, that's totally wrong. And
then, no, that's not what we said. I think our only note was make him a little more barrel chested.
Yeah, and I definitely you'll see in the video where he's a bit more muscular and stuff, and then I made him a bit more of a barrel shaped character and stuff, and it made a huge difference. It's funny, one little comment and it really made the character. So
yeah, it's really funny because I remember one of the first design jobs I ever had corporately. We did a preliminary art, sent it back to them, and they sent us back a book about this thick of all their trade dress rules. Like, nope, this always needs to be at this angle, and you've not used the right Pantone for this. And I remember thinking to myself, all right, take it easy.
Yep.
The lay person does not. But now that I have my own stuff, I'm like, oh no, I totally get it now. Yet he
Yeah,
needs
it's funny.
way-
I've been sent like hex keys for color codes and stuff. Be like,
exactly.
no, it has to be this.
Yeah.
Binwin's cloak is Pantone 1865165 Charlie Victor 2.
Yeah, that's right. I get it. I mean, when you, especially like the D&D characters I've even made, I usually DM, but the few characters that I've made, I'm very specific, and
Yeah.
anybody draws it even slightly different, I'm like, nope. It's like
How hard was it to translate the minions? Because Tavis draws them very cartoony, and they do not conform at all to the.
They
Idle
had some
Champion
really
style.
interesting like key pieces to them that I would like the wizard's hat and his
Right.
eyeglasses, like his big spectacles and stuff like that, like focusing on those key pieces, and then everything else kind of comes together from that. So once you get those main
Tavis's
ones,
color choices, especially on the wizard, were really good too.
yeah, totally. And all the characters, all of the minions have very different color palettes, and
Right.
so that was pretty easy. We were actually discussing which minions we would pick, and
Yeah.
I know I started with the knight and the wizard, and then we decided to go with the druid after.
Right. Ooh, did you ever do any art for Paul?
No, unfortunately not. I was just like, I'm going to do these two because they seem fun.
Oh, okay. I was wondering how you chose those.
Yeah,
or
it
if
was
every
more-
time you loaded up, there'd be a different group of them or something, you know? Like,
I'd love to do them all. Maybe down the road. I'll just do them for fun.
Dragon Down Year 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do y'all want to see this time lapse?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
So
I've seen
uh,
Do you hate watching this thing, Adam?
it. You know what? Seeing it all sped up, it actually makes me feel like I actually do my job on a timely basis. And then I realized that I boosted up by 1,600%.
only 1,600 times faster than
Yeah.
okay, Scott, your face will disappear, but we will still hear you when
No, it's fine. I want
starts
to
going.
see.
Yeah.
Oh. You make my screen bigger so I can enjoy it more. Logo. Blink, blink. That's an awesome logo, by the way, Adam.
Sweet, thanks. It was fun. I mean, how can you really screw up a beholder, to be honest?
They're harder to draw than you think.
Yeah, and I started with less than 10 eye stalks, and Wizards was like, nope.
Nope. 10. Exactly 10.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, it made the stream code disappear. Thought I might do something like that.
Look how fast I'm at drawing, Scott.
I know.
Can you draw that fast?
Nope.
No, yeah.
Yeah, it's coming together pretty quickly.
Yeah, again, much like the minions, I figured his helmet was a big key piece for Binwin, so I started with that. Like, I kind of got the body structure, and then, like, the helmet is such a big part.
You did the horns. You constructed the horns correctly.
Oh, thanks.
A lot of people draw one horn, and then they only draw the stump of the second. And in my mind, I go, if you were to draw that horn and complete it again, it would not be the same width.
Right.
You got to draw both and then cut one off, right?
Yeah. Yep. That's what I did.
Exactly.
Yes.
You get it.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Oh, you're quick. You are quick, Adam.
I know. Look how fast that is.
No,
It's
but I'm
incredible.
not joking though. But you have a very clean line. Wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Are you drawing this in Illustrator?
You bet. We do everything in Illustrator.
Fucking alchemist.
It's funny. If I go to Photoshop, it actually frustrates me because I like such clean lines. And
So are you drawing the lines to shape thing?
yeah, so I made a very specific brush in Illustrator that everybody uses, but like years and years ago I made this brush, and I find it gives me enough control and gives me enough control on the line width that I can get the base in, and then I expand it, and then I mess with the lines after that. So like I'm very loose with the initial lines, and then I'll go in there and you'll see how I just mess with all the points and get it to the way I want.
Yep.
And it's a good way. It's it's a good way to do things semi-quickly. But like I can't, when I go into Photoshop, I just can't draw such clean lines. Like you have a surgeon's hand when you draw your lines, and I just don't have that. Especially when I was drawing Binwin, I had shaky hands. I was so happy. You don't get it. When I was a kid, when I was in high school, that's when PvP and all that kind of stuff came out. And my buddy and I, all we wanted to do was be webcomics. And we would draw and write and do everything. And like I was making crappy like Angel Fire websites and stuff like that.
Yeah, Angel Fire.
Yeah, totally,
Wow.
right? So we would make all these websites and nobody would see them just being on Angel Fire. Everybody's like, no, viruses.
Do you guys want to translate what Angel Fire means to people who are not, under the age of 30 or whatever?
So we were in high school at the time, so we had like no money, so we couldn't buy.
Hold on a second, real quick, Adam. Yeah. What year did you graduate high school?
2000.
Oh my god.
I know. Oh no, I have 5-year-old kids, and I tell them when they were born, and I'm like, I feel old.
Wait a minute. You what? Wait, you were what? 2000?
Yeah. So I made the best Duke Nukem 3D website ever. But my webcomics could not get any traction. So like my buddy's a writer, and obviously I drew the comics, and we would do our D&D comics, we would draw everything, and we would follow PvP and like everything that you did. So when I got to draw Binwin, it was like I literally grew up reading your webcomics.
That's crazy.
So, like, you were the reason that I learned HTML and stuff like that, so I could put my webcomics up.
You're blowing my mind.
It's
what's funny is I want you to travel back in time with me. Oh, you're drawing the axe.
Yeah.
Real quick, I'll put a pin in that question. So how quick did you come up with the ideas for Rook and Ruin? Because I'm amazed at.
Well, when we were talking, like our first meeting on the phone, when you told me the names and we were discussing the axes and your ideas for them, I immediately knew I wanted to put ramparts on Rook. Like it was immediate, and then I just sketched it out and it came together. You'll actually see me in a minute, kind of how I put it together. But yeah, it was almost immediate that like I have to use the name somehow in the axes.
Yeah. So in right around 1998, closer to the end of 98, probably closer to 99.
Mm-hmm.
When I first met Mike and Jerry online and we would talk on the phone sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I was living in a duplex. I don't know if they have duplexes in Canada. I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
It's like a house that's identical on both sides. Anyway.
Yeah.
I was kind of laying on the carpet of this really crappy office I was in. We all had aspirations to go full-time as cartoonists,
mm-hmm.
and it was going to happen. It didn't pan out immediately, but we were promised the opportunity to go full-time, and we were on the phone discussing it. And I said to Mike and Jerry, like, guys, what if this leads to, what if this is it for us? Like, what if one day, like when we go to a con and we approach like Sergio Aragonés or Charles Schultz or Jim Davis and say, you're the reason why I'm in comics. What if one day this is the beginning of someone coming to us and saying, you're the reason? Like, what if if we pull this off, if we make webcomics a thing, someday someone's going to come to us when we're older and say, you're the reason that I make this and this and this. And they're like, oh, that'd be great. Probably not going to happen. I go, yeah, probably not. And here you are doing it to me, brother.
Yeah.
You're blowing my mind.
Well, happy too. It's crazy.
That's crazy.
You know, as I did the webcomics and stuff like that, obviously I was always a big gamer, so I would also be doing like game art and I remember when I was, it may be destiny that I didn't become a webcomic, because when I was, God, like 6 or 7 years old, I used to draw Mario Brother characters and actually take the paper, fold it up, and stuff it into my Nintendo. expecting it to show up on the television screen and be like a boss I could. Yeah, I was an idiot.
No, you were an idiot.
Yeah.
All I wanted was my like
an
Koopa
imagination.
Troopa to show up and be a character that I could jump on and squish and
Yeah.
stuff. Because I had no idea how it worked. I figured the cartridge went in the Nintendo, my paper should go in there too.
When I was 12 years old, and I was having a rough time at school, I almost passed out in the mirror trying to force my mutant powers to activate.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Did it work?
No, it did not. I developed no mutant powers.
That
But
sucks.
I thought in the comics, it's always when they're around 12 or 13, their mutant powers activate and something traumatizing triggers it. And I had nothing trauma, but I'm like, oh, this. And I came home crying because I had been picked on by a bully, and I was like, save it, use it, get home, and then get in the bathroom and save it. And you can get in your room or get in a private space, and you can activate your mutant powers. And I just started trying to be like really force a cry, and just tried to kind of force myself to be really upset. And I started hyperventilating, and I almost passed. I'm like, this is dumb. I'm not going to get mutant powers.
What mutant power were you hoping for?
I don't know.
Anything?
I was a big fan of the comic Alpha Flight, so I was hoping I could become like Sasquatch, and then I could like my plan was Sasquatch was a guy who tried to replicate Dr. Banner's gamma stuff, but he was in Canada, and because he messed with gamma rays on essentially kind of native soil with native gods, he actually became a Bigfoot character instead of like a Hulk. And I thought, what if I could just make my arm big like his, and then I could punch David Buer and make him stop picking on me.
I didn't know they actually printed Alpha Flight down in the States. I thought it was a Canada-only comic.
Yes, no. I was obsessed with Alpha Flight. It's still my favorite comic ever. It's the first comic I ever collected.
Huh. I could never take Puck seriously.
Oh, Puck was the best. He was so cool. Yeah. Well, my friend was a big fan of X-Men, so I knew the X-Men from we would wait till his brother left and go into his room and get his comics out because we weren't allowed to look at his comics. He had them all in poly bags. And we would read X-Men in secret. And then there's one X-Men where you learn that Wolverine is Canadian, and Alpha Flight is these villains that show up, and they're like, Logan, we're taking you home, and Alpha Flight tries to collect, Wolverine. And when they got their own comic, I was like, oh my god, that's from Jan Steikhouse's brother's X-Men comic. I was at a Walden Books, and it was issue number 11, and that issue ends with next issue one member of Alpha Flight will die. And I'm like, no.
Well,
then I discovered there were separate stores that sold just comics, and we went to this terrible comic book shop in West Des Moines, Iowa, and I slowly bought all the back issues of Alpha Flight.
Huh.
I was into the darker comics. Like, I loved Spawn, and I read like every Stephen King book I could.
Yeah.
So I liked the horror and the dark, and my buddy Kenny, who you drew that picture for at Stream of Many Eyes, which his jaw hit the floor.
Oh,
and
really?
He works at a comic book shop now, and it was at the comic book shop, and I hid the picture in the Mordekainen's Tomb of Foes book, and I gave him the book and be like, hey, here's the present I've been toting towards you for the last week. And he's like, thanks. And then he opens the front page, and there's your picture there. Yeah. And he stared at it for a good 20 minutes. Just speechless.
Well, I plan on coming up to visit soon, and we should talk to Kenny about if he wants me to do like a store signing.
Oh, I already just brought up even the potential idea of it. And he's like, yeah.
That'd be cool. I'd love to do it like a Table Titans book signing there.
Mm-hmm.
Look at you construct these ramparts.
Yeah.
Also, you have to play some D&D with us.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's the main reason we're coming up.
Mm-hmm.
For people watching the stream, the reason why this time lapse zooms out and in so much is because when you work in detail, you want to be zoomed in real close, but you got to zoom out and take a look at the picture from a distance. And smarter people than Adam and I, what they'll do is they'll create a separate window that always has it zoomed out.
Yeah.
But we don't. Adam and I don't do that. We don't
No.
have time for that shit.
No. I was actually just saying that when I was looking at this video. I'm like, I should figure out a way that it doesn't zoom in, out. But
yeah, you know what? Then the first time you hit a hotkey wrong, all the windows get weird, and I'll just do this.
Yeah.
Too old to begin the training.
Yeah, I agree. I just learned about workspaces today, thanks to Kat and Alexis.
Oh, you didn't know about workspaces, really?
No, I never bothered.
Shit, man.
And then I hit a hotkey and everything disappears and resets to the... So I was getting really mad. And then they're like, use workspaces. Okay.
Well, that's because no one teaches you this stuff. It's all self-taught. So
yeah, I went to school for film. I didn't go to school for drawing.
Do you not want to make films?
I didn't want to be a PA.
Oh, that's, yeah.
Yeah, and I would have had to be a PA for like
a decade.
10 years. Yeah.
That's kind of how it goes.
Also, working in Hollywood sucks.
Yeah, well, I went to school
in... is terrible.
I went to school in Toronto, and I did a couple sets as a PA, and I'm like, this is bullshit. So then I got into video games. I literally quit my job and then got a job as an artist, working for Habbo Hotel.
Where's that? Where's Habbo Hotel?
It's a like online chat for kids.
Oh.
And it's like pixel art and stuff. So yeah.
Okay. Huh. Cool.
Yeah. Also, Binwin doesn't have thighs. Just to tell you. Sorry.
No, he does not.
Yeah, no thighs. Just lower legs.
He doesn't need thighs.
Yeah. It's just a void beneath his pants. Or
do you do a lot of Pathfinder? Not the game. I mean, in Illustrator, use the Pathfinder tool to like merge shit together.
Oh yeah. You can't really see it, but the bottom left, that little dialogue box, is Pathfinder.
Yeah. Okay, Pathfinder. Okay. Cool. So now you must have constraints where, as you're drawing this, you have to be conscious of what elements of this drawing have to be separate on each layer because they have to eventually move and stuff, right?
Yes. It was before, but you could see me grab like the whole torso and start rotating it, and you'll notice there's a big circle at the bottom, because that's the pivot point.
Right.
So everything, it's like a paper doll, right? Like, remember when you like cut out all the limbs and stuff and put the pin? It's basically what it is. So yeah, the biggest constraint is to making sure that, you know, everything is posable, in order to, be like, the animation is a huge key to this, obviously. So it's like the upper arm, forearm, and hand. You know, you can't really cheat and have them as like one big line or anything. They always have to be posable. So
this just automatically replays in case anybody is wondering.
Oh, okay.
You get the epic beginning once again. I kind of like it with the more epic music.
Yeah.
Well, this one. The other ones are kind of like really chill and like a character slowly formed in some nice way, but I don't know. I felt like something a little bit more bold and in your face needed to be playing for Binwin, so here we be. And you can see that he's not barrel chested in the first little sketch out right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like how you have him next to the other guy for size comparison too.
Yeah, I always use Hitch. For some reason. I just like Hitch. Aside from Binwin, Hitch is second.
Cool. So, how, like, you mentioned, Scott, that like everybody's kind of self-taught for this. And then you were talking about being self-taught as well.
What? After I said that, I regretted it because people Adam's age and your age are probably not self-taught. They went to. You can actually go to school now to learn this stuff. I graduated high school in '89, and when I was in college, my advertising commercial art professors were telling us that computers will never be used for desktop publishing. And I actually dropped out of college because I assumed that my parents were paying for me to get an education that would be obsolete in 3 to 5 years, because we all knew computers were going to be used. What I didn't know was that I should have just gotten the degree, because then I have a degree, and I would have learned Photoshop by myself or on the job anyway, so who cares? But I was young and didn't understand that was a thing.
Huh.
But yeah, I mean, I visited. I was invited to speak at the Savannah College of Art and Design, and seeing kids college age all sitting in front of Cintiqs and learning Photoshop in a school environment and not being chastised for it, but actually being taught it, is crazy. It's crazy to see for me. But yeah.
I got a couple questions for the both of you, actually. One of them is by Number Letters, who says they're really interested in how Adam keeps slightly adjusting the helmet in the video. Like, what's the motivation behind all those tiny adjustments?
Mainly just the making sure it sits well with him. Like, as I'm adjusting the body posture and stuff, I want to make sure the helmet. And you'll notice at times I'll grab the whole thing and flip it, because when I flip it, it tricks my mind into seeing it almost new, and I can see where maybe I'm drawing something slightly off and it looks a bit funny. So then I'll go adjust that, and then any, like the helmet and stuff which I drew first, I'll go then adjust it further.
Okay.
Especially like getting the beard right and the perspective of the beard. As I drew that, the helmet looked a bit off, so I would then go grab the helmet and adjust it so it looks correct.
Huh. And then somebody else asked sort of a related question. It's like, when you watch a video of your animation, do you critique yourself watching it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, I don't know, Scott, if you get this too, but if you look back on a piece of art, you don't notice the whole thing. You just notice the little things that you want to change.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, what you have to remember is that when you look at a drawing that someone drew, you, as the observer, you see the drawing as it is and are able to look at it and go, that's really cool, because you're seeing it for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
When the artist looks at that same drawing, they're disappointed because they're seeing how it didn't match what was in their head.
Mm.
But yeah, I don't like listening back to podcasts I'm on, and I don't like watching time lapses of my own work, even though I do post them.
Huh.
'Cause it's helpful for
Mm-hmm.
me.
Yeah, once I finish something, I kind of just try to let it go and move on to the next thing. And based on our production schedule, I don't have any choice. But just as a personal thing too, I'll kind of let it go.
Is there a part of you, and I know this is a shortcoming of mine, but I also don't like time lapses because I don't want other artists to see how I cheat, or other artists that might see something I do that they might consider amateurish or incorrect.
I mean,
I worry about that.
Yeah, I mean, you're always worried about other people judging your stuff, and like my process, I'm not too worried about people copying. I'm happy to share that.
I never care about that. I've never understood people that are like, I can't tell you how I did that. This is my secret.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really care if people like don't like the way I did something. Obviously, want people to enjoy the finished product and stuff like that. So I'm not too worried about it, and I'm happy to like. It's cool to share this with everybody who enjoys the characters and stuff. So it doesn't really bother me too much.
Apparently, we have some World Cup fans in the chat who are asking if anybody's watching the World Cup.
I am not.
Not me either. That's a sport, right?
That is a sport, and I like sports, but I'm not into that. Although, if my friend Brian Sunter were here and he were watching it, I'd be super into it, because I am one of those guys that I am super into enjoying sports with people that are super into sports.
Mm-hmm.
because I learn a lot about the game. I get a lot of insight, and I get to share their passion with it. So,
Yeah.
like, I don't religiously put football on, but I love watching Seahawks games with my wife, and I love watching Cowboy games with my brother because they lose their minds. Minds.
With Twins, I've noticed my watching of the NHL has gone down dramatically, to the point where the only hockey game I watched all year was the final.
Oh, you watched the final?
Mm-hmm.
How'd it go? Was it good?
And the team that won should have won. So, yeah.
Usually makes sense.
I usually the thing I'm into right now is MMA, like UFC. It's kind of fun watching people punch each other in the face.
No, I saw the new vent go up, and I've seen the old one come down. And I'm like, that's horrific. Oh, crap. We were breathing that? That's not good. Huh. Well, yeah, I find it actually kind of enthralling to watch these, because it's when you're working on something. I mean, you're just kind of working on it. You're chipping away at it, and you keep going and going and going until it's done. But like when you watch it and like you see it almost manifest, like you don't see a line slowly get drawn. You see the line go like and like contorts to be perfect, and then I just kind of find it so much more interesting to watch it that way. Though we did put together a 5-minute version where this is even like way faster.
It makes the zooming out and in and out a lot worse.
Yeah. Yeah. Der Engel says, "Hi all, best greetings from Germany."
Oh,
cool. Yeah.
Are they in the world?
Isn't it like 11:30 or 12:30 at night for you? Like it's late in Germany.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, cool. Huh. Oh wait, no, somebody else is asking about the World Cup now too. I guess that's happening right now. Soccer, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, we play D&D, so you know, if we were sports inclined, maybe we'd be doing something a little more active than sitting in front of screens for 15 hours a day. Adam, how do you pick the colors? Because they don't look to me like you just went to the strip and copied color over. Like,
I do sometimes. I might have done it and it just didn't show up on the speed up. But when it comes to like the cloak and the skin color and the beard color, all like the core pieces of it, I would probably color pick just to make sure I'm on the right angle, and then change it slightly just to match the rest of the colors.
You didn't get the Pantone colors that Corey sent over?
I did, but I ignored them.
No, fair enough. And now, so let's talk about those eyebrows. Because unlike every other character, this is the only one where there are a pair of eyebrows on a helmet.
Yeah, they're magical eyebrows.
That is a Binwin trait.
I just explained them as magical eyebrows.
Kind of like that dwarven belt that makes whoever wears it grow a beard. Makes sense. Helm of the Binwin. I can't remember. Did the Helm of the Binwin?
So we have someone from Bavaria and someone from Nuremberg in here. Awesome.
Oh, wow.
By the way, I'm taking Binwin traits with the paladin I'm playing at lunch, where he just kicks in all the doors.
You should.
That was really obvious to me, actually. I was like, yeah.
Yeah. I figured if I'm going to be on stream with Scott Kurtz, I might as well start kicking in some doors.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it really pisses off the rest of the people in the group.
They're like, we're trying to be quiet. I like how the rogue is like listening to the door, and then you kick it with them right up against it.
Yeah, as he was listening at the door, I kicked open the door.
You gotta break those doors, crash them in.
That's right.
Well, I don't want to hold on to you all day, Scott, if you have places to go and people to draw. So just let us know if you wanna stick around for the next little bit here, or if you wanna peace out, or what works for you.
I got to split. I got to go pick my niece up from school here in a little bit, but I'm going to have some food before I do that.
It's a good idea. I like food. Mine is sitting here on this desk taunting me because I didn't eat it before we started. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing in 20 minutes is eating that warm salad. Yes.
Well, Adam, if I'm going to ping you soon about when we're going to come up, and that way we can talk with Kenny and get a signing all.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Set up.
Cool.
Come to. You guys are in Victoria, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Just a short
Victoria.
ferry ride away.
Yep. I've never been.
You'll like it.
And thank you for saying ferry ride because I'm not getting on a pontoon plane.
Oh, you don't want to do a harbor air a plane, like a little float plane?
800-pound man, and I'm not 800 pounds. I'm just joking, but I'm too big of a guy to be in one of those giant planes or little tiny planes. I'm scared, Dylan.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I would probably be pretty nervous.
I'm very scared of flying.
I would be nervous too, like myself. Just
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I've done it a few times.
I watched,
and almost all those flights were fun. One of them was really not though. Boy, there was
We watched one of those things take off a couple times because we were eating the other day right on the Puget Sound here. They're not like normal planes. They take off so much quicker than normal planes. They're like on the water, airborne.
It's not so much the taking off; it's the landing.
Oh man, you gotta fly into Victoria because like it's kind of like loop around the city, and then like it looks like you nosedive into the harbor. You're like, oh fuck, we're all gonna die. And it's like, and then it kind of pulls and like skips in, and then like you get off the plane. It's intense, but that was actually pretty fun. However, turbulence in those planes sucks real bad. Yeah,
so I'll take the ferry. Thanks. I love the ferry.
No, you could drink on the Clipper if you I don't know.
Yeah.
The Clipper is always fun. It's pretty quick. It's like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Or you just drive over on the Coho. That's easy too.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right. I will talk to you guys later.
No worries, Scott. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
And thanks for being Binwin and for all that you do.
Oh, well, thanks for putting him in the game. It means a lot, guys.
No worries.
To us too.
Thanks for working so hard on him, Adam. It means a lot.
Yeah, of course. It was awesome from start to end.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That turned up the volume.
Mm-hmm.
I guess something was turning it down. So let me go ahead and do this. Holy crap.
Yeah, it's better.
That was overwhelming, even. Yeah, so I'm trying to think of anything because, like, Scott already did such a good job of asking the art style questions anyway. So I'm like, I don't have anything to add to that. He covered it. He covered those bases. The rest of it you can see right here.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the other thing is like, how long did this take? Like, I mean, I know it's sped up 1,600%, but what's 1,600% times like 15.5 minutes?
I think. I'm not sure what the math is, to be honest. I don't really track how long this one particularly took me. I think it was all in all, like with, I know I went back and forth between doing other stuff with doing Binwin and other stuff that I had to get done. So I think it was like 3 days in total to get him drawn out, and then the animations and stuff after that as well. But like not 3 days total, just over 3 days he got drawn, but maybe like 3 or 4 hours of like actual drawing time to get them done.
Huh.
So we can get them done pretty quickly. We're getting pretty good at drawing these heroes and stuff. So
yeah, eventually you're going to have all the pieces you need to actually have a hero creator, having made them for all the characters, and then you can just it's like I'm going to use Binwin's hands and I don't know, etc.
It'd be fun to do our office characters just for fun.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, eventually we'll need more characters, right?
Yeah.
And then we could totally have office characters. Well, seems likely. Not given some of the characters that people want to see, though. There are a lot of people that they want to see more than the ones that we have. Where is the one that's both of us in the game? Okay, cool. But none of the text is there? What the F? Thanks, XSplit. You're awesome. So there you have it. That was a time lapse of Binwin being created. And I know how busy you are, so if you want to skip out now to get back to what you were doing, because like I know you're swamped. So if you want, you can do that. You don't have to stick around. I'll just go over the Q&A
here to
stuff.
talk to Scott.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, then screw off.
Okay.
Yeah, but no. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Cheers. Yeah, turn that mic off. Switch over to solo view. It's time to sit back and get intimate, everybody. Yeah. So, and there you have it. I know I haven't really been talking to you guys too much or getting into the chat. I noticed, so there's a guy working on our AC. I don't know if this is going to show up on camera. You can see, no, it doesn't really show up. This is a bit of tissue that I had here because I keep sneezing a lot. Because as he was working, this like black powdery dust was raining down from the sky, and I stopped drinking my other beverage because I looked at the top of it and it was like kind of caked in this crap that fell out of the ceiling. So that's great, and it probably is in my lunch as well. So I guess I'm going for a different lunch after this stream, and yeah, on my salad, GU Comics. So that was great. Yeah, totally messed up my lunch. But yeah, so when the guy started, he was bringing these nice looking vent system screens up the ladder. I'm like, okay, cool. And then like late into the stream, he starts bringing the old ones down, and like they're horrific, right? They look like I picture pneumonia looks like in your lungs, or like some other airborne something that just messes with your ability to breathe. So that's great. I'm sure it has nothing to do with Legionnaire's disease in my salad. Well, hopefully not. But yeah, I'm not going to eat the salad now because I didn't put the lid on it close enough. If somebody freeze frames back, they could probably see me kind of like leaning over and hear the little pop of it putting on there. So that's great. But this beverage had not been opened yet, so at least it's safe. So my allergies, funny thing, letters, numbers, letters. In the 70s and 80s, and probably into the 90s as well, there was a long time there where doctors were like, hey, if your kid keeps getting inflamed tonsils or adenoids or whatever, just cut them out. You don't need them. They don't do anything. And so my parents had my adenoids removed. And given long-term studies now, people have since learned that like triples your susceptibleness to respiratory-related illness. Things like pneumonia. So I'm 3 times more likely to get pneumonia than a normal person. So combine that with my allergies and Victoria being such a crazy garden city. Yeah, the last couple of years have been brutal. Just sinus infections, just one after another, basically. And so last week's stream that I did not do, move that chair. Yeah, my throat was so dry and cracked, and I was like coughing up snot, and I had no voice, and yeah, it just wasn't really appropriate to stream last week. Which is funny because like other than these sinus related things, I don't get sick at all. I don't get flus, really, other than the office plague that like destroyed our whole office in January. I don't really get anything. It's unusual for me to get sick. So, well. Anywho, Mortoned, is this my best formation for the campaign free play? No, it's not. This is a Binwin formation. And Binwin is awesome, and he's gonna, he's got the pieces to be overpowered, so we definitely have to be worried about how much extra attack percentage he does end up with, because if he starts attacking 6 times in a row consistently or something, that would be horrific, because I mean he'd get like 4 Barrowin stacks anyways just from sitting there. So no, my better formation is, well, I need to actually unlock and level up Naeli, but my better formations include Baeli, because her buff is still too good. There just aren't enough other buffers in other slots yet to have it really be competitive. But we'll get there, and then there's a tanking and healing update and a champion balance update. So yeah, like the Binwin formation is several orders of magnitude down from the other ones I have. So I have a Barrowin one, and this is the non-Barrowin one that I rock out. Oh, it's the dragon again. Let me just kill him quickly by using all the things. So there's a Nimanva. I have sinus issues and needs to get strep throat every summer. Yeah, so I'm basically one of those people who, like, if I get strep throat, which, I mean, strep throat travels around, and so it's definitely higher at risk for it in the spring when there's pollen and stuff. I'm a little more weak to it. the chances of me getting something else that's respiratory are very high, which means that I end up with like deep sinus infections that are hard to get rid of. So a lot of neti potting, a lot of tea. So I'm going to go over a few pressing things because I know there are questions that people usually like to ask that we didn't get to, so I'll just go over them now. If you're wanting an update on our tanking and healing update or our champion balance update or our offline gold gain, I am sorry to say that I do not have anything to add right now. And furthermore, they're the kinds of things that we like to make sure we have really accurate information to give you when we do talk about them. So, when those updates come, those are the kinds of things that, like we will have Justin or Dave or some combination thereof. Maybe won't even have me, but like we'll have, somebody do a dev blog and a dev stream where they talk about the specific changes, how they're coming, how it works, etc. Especially since like at least one of the versions of the tanking and healing update that I have heard of, and I don't know if it's the direction we're going to go, but the one that I heard about sounded like a departure from a lot of the way that stuff is done in the game, and so it would mean for some significant changes. And so, I don't know what Justin's going to end up doing, but now that we have Chris on board, who can take on some of the project lead for the campaigns and permanent adventures and stuff as they're coming in, Justin has more freedom to work on that stuff. So we should be able to get through more of it more quickly now. So I'm hoping soon, but yeah, no real update for those yet. People also ask a lot about when we're going to add the next real D&D lore character, which is to say a character from a book or maybe from one of the other older games, like one of the Baldur's Gate games or what have you. Because, obviously with Binwin and previously with Evelyn, it's like, okay, we just had two characters popularized by streams and podcasts back to back, and people want to know when the next character from one of the books or one of the other things is coming. We're working on a way to balance that makes sense. So many things are kind of happening behind the scenes to line up those decisions, but I can say definitively that our next character is not a streamer character and is somebody that people have asked for. And I'm going to leave it at that because I can't spoil it. Another question that's coming up a lot right now are asking, our iPad and tablet for Android players are asking when or if they will be able to get a use out of codes, because we give out right now like a dozen chests of varying kinds a week out to our Steam users, and the tablet players so far are not getting any of that. Now, part of that is because the terms of use for tablet for Android and for iPad, we can't circumvent their stores in any way, so we can't ever give out codes that would work for those platforms. We're just legally not allowed. It's part of the license agreement. That's that. So we are still discussing internally what we will do to, so that tablet players don't feel as left out, so they're not being left out quite the same way. But I'm not sure yet what shape that will take. So when we have some information to share, we will. But for now, just bear with us. I mean, you're not going to get left in the dark. Obviously, we had issues with the Great Modron March and Evelyn launching on iPad that we have since, done a free unlock and a bunch of chests for Evelyn so that every player could get her even because they weren't able to play. So, we're not going to leave everybody out in the cold, totally screwed over by not being able to get access to something. We also have people asking why we don't have the Gazer and the Pseudo Dragon on sale in the Steam sale, which I can't answer in a way that will be satisfying to anybody, except to say that there are actually quite a few rules around how we do promos and how we do our discounts and how things work with the Steam sales, and that we have to work within. So, yeah, I mean, everything goes on sale eventually. That's really all I can say about that. If you are waiting until the best possible time to get some of those DLC packs, then you will know during one of the sales when you've reached that point for you. But like, we will never be allowed to talk about it in advance. Like, Valve is pretty strict about not talking about Steam sale stuff in advance. Like, we knew it was coming today a while ago, but we're not allowed to say or talk about or promote in advance anything about it. So it's just one of the many ways that our hands are tied. Baron Stromgard, any update on the new blessings? No update on the new blessings, except to say that they will exist. Ixniz, any new permanent champions coming out that will gear from regular gold chests? Yes, there absolutely will be. I don't have anything more to share except to say that with the cadence of creating a character from scratch for every event, fitting in core champions as well is a little more challenging because of that, because as you saw from the discussion just now with Adam and Scott Kurtz, Binwin took up 3 days of Adam's time. Every champion takes up days of somebody's time. Like, it takes the amount of art assets that we create for this game is actually pretty substantial. I mean, it's enough to keep 4 artists working full time on it. So yes, there will be more core champions added to the game. I can't give you any more info about when. Garwar, can future bosses have their debuffs better explained or explained at all? This one doesn't tell you what's going on. Same with the Wormlings. Yeah, so that's something that we're aware of and that we obviously haven't addressed yet, and I don't know if we will address it in time for this one, but our buffs and debuffs are not easily discernible, especially when, like, if you pull up the character sheet and it's got like buffs, but it doesn't have debuffs. So when Choten the dragon hits you, and your character is frozen, it doesn't say anything. It doesn't have a notification. So like, it's something that we're aware that we're not doing well enough, and I don't have anything definitive to give you about it, except to say that yes, we know we messed that up. So magenta shirt. I would like to point out that Strix's poor hygiene ability does not work as written. It says that critters take more damage. But clicker damage is still the same. Can you confirm that this will be fixed? I don't even, I'd have to read what it's as written. I'm not sure. Poor hygiene. Enemies approaching it take more damage due to... so you think that they should take more click damage in addition to Strix's debuff? I don't know that that's ever going to happen, just because nothing increases the clicker damage on enemies except leveling click damage. We don't have any champions that impact that. We never have. So maybe it's a communication thing on our end. White Boy Rick, any plans on adding the skill unlock level list for each champion in the game? I hate getting to a wall to use gold to upgrade one champion that doesn't have any good buffs coming, when I could have upgraded a different champion with a list in the game for each. Might be useful. I know that players have put that together. I don't know that we're going to be doing it, just because, I mean, things might change. But, yeah. Okay, so normally I would try and stick around until nobody had any more questions, but I'm looking at the time, and obviously we started a little bit late. But I'd like to be a respectful host on this channel and make sure that I end in time, and should there be something up after us. I know Waffle Talk isn't on until 4, but I should still wrap up in the next couple minutes. So I'm only going to do another couple questions, and then I'm going to quickly say thank yous and roll out. So sorry about that. So yeah, White Boy Rick, I don't know if we're going to add all the skills lists ourselves, or if we'll be releasing them ourselves. But we strongly encourage our players to continue to do that, because if those of you on the Discord know that a lot of these resources get posted around, and a lot of our community leads talk about it in detail and a lot of other stuff. We just aren't really at the capacity where we can put out resources like that, as well as it can be community created. So, that said, don't hesitate to notify us with that kind of stuff, like features you want to see in the game, things that you want to see, things that would make you happier about the game, like constructive criticism and good examples of things that you want to see. Like, don't hesitate to send those our way. There was a time when Ashara only had 1 set of bonds, and now she has 2, and that was done more because the community pushed for it than because we wanted to do it. So, yeah. Mortoned, if and when you manage to have the whole Waffle crew in the same formation, will all other heroes die? That's really funny. I'm going to make a note here and see if we can add that. So we'll see what happens. I'm liking Garwar's suggestion that the formation debuff makes everybody suboptimal. Or maybe, I don't know. I mean, we'll think of something. I mean, we haven't quite reached a point where we're doing that, right? Like, other than the buff that Dritz has related to the Companions of the Hall, we don't have a Force Grey related buff. We don't have any other buffs related yet. And obviously, we only have 2 characters from Dice Camera Action. So, I mean, we could look into doing something like that. But if we were going to pursue a path where we were doing things like that, where we had characters from specific sources, grouping and buffing each other, we would want to make sure that also that the character update screen and the bio cites where that character is from, so that people understand that they have that relation, like Calliope, you know, Force Grey, that kind of thing. So we'll see. There are definitely things we can communicate better, and like we have plans in the work to do things like work on our UI, but we just don't have anything to share yet. So anyways, sorry I'm talking so quickly. Sorry I have to wrap it up, but I got to wrap it up. So first things first, I would like to extend a huge thank you to Scott Kurtz, PvP Online, Table Titans. Thank you so much for being a comic inspiration, literally like a cartoonist inspiration, just for our team. For obviously, like Adam's talking about how he's the reason that he does what he does. So thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to join us on stream. We really appreciate it. You've been amazing to work with so far, and I'm sure you will continue to be amazing to work with. And thank you for streaming and all that stuff. Love Scott Kurtz. Love Table Titans. If you haven't read Table Titans, you should, especially if you like comics and D&D. It is seriously good storytelling. Can't recommend it enough. Thanks to the Dungeons and Dragons and Wizards of the Coast for allowing us the use of this stream. You guys handed us the reins and allowed us to do this, and we really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun, and huge thank you to Pelham and to Bart, whoever's working on the D&D account right now. Thanks on that end. Huge thanks to Lauren Urban, Noble Crazy for being such an awesome mod, and thanks to Erica for being such a kick-ass producer. Erica is the reason this runs as smoothly as it does. So thanks everybody. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will chat next week. #praise Tito.